There it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to use this side of the board, just using this side of the board. I'm going to use some, so if you want to turn your paper sideways, and I'll just kind of explain what I have in mind in my head, because the discussion section, we said the purpose of it was to discuss the meanings, and I think that's a really hard thing for you guys to understand a little bit. But if I put it to you this way, I'm hoping it will make sense that you can translate this onto all the rest of your stuff, okay? So I'm going to make a data table over here that I'm going to use as my example. And then what I'm going to want you to do is, you don't need to do that. You're going to use the OR data table. But I do want you to write like 3 lines kind of in the middle, okay? So kind of in the middle, I want you to write 3 lines that are evenly spaced. Kind of in the middle. All right? I'm going to make my data table here. Right? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to totally fill out the headers on here, but I want you to see the idea. I'm going to do amount of vitamin A, and I'm going to do it in milligrams. So this is an investigation we're going to use an example, because I don't want to give you the exact stuff. I want you to be able to tear apart your data table to see what you think. And then I also want to do on this side, we're going to do amount of weight gain in percentage, right? For milligrams, we're going to do 0, it's my control. We're going to do 10 milligrams and then 20 milligrams. Percentage of weight gain, we're going to do 5%, 20%, and 35%. All right? Now, you have your lines. I'm going to use these lines with my graph. You're going to end up using your lines with your graph. For this first line, we're going to do this. We're going to write right below it. We're going to write correlation. Make sure you leave yourself some space and some gaps in there. Give the whole paper to use. Under this one, we're going to write relationship. And under this one, we're going to write trend. Now, the very last thing I want to make sure you have is some sort of box off to the side. And we're going to write meaning of results, question mark. And then when you're done, just cut this down. You're not using my data table, Evan. You're going to use your data table. Because this will make no sense, because it's not the lab you're doing. That's what I said. Use the data table you have. Don't write my data table. All right, you ready? All right, so, got it? Okay, here's the 2 things. When you guys do, when you see graphs, I don't want you to write this down. You guys are really good with graphs. With graphs, if I ever show you a graph in correlation, you're fine, okay? What's this correlation? All at once, what's this correlation?
Positive.
What's this?
Negative.
And what's this?
No correlation.
No correlation or neutral, you're fine. Here's what I found that's so weird. So we always look at data, we look at how you guys perform on different things. If I take a graph, I think the statistics we have from last set of course assessments said that like 95% of you guys have no problem finding the correlation from a graph. But when I give you the same information on a data table and I ask you to tell me the correlation from the data table, only 65% of you guys can do it. So let me ask you this question. Where do you get the data that you use to make the graph? From your data table. From your data table. So whatever your correlation is on your graph is the same as your data table. Okay? So let's take a look at this. I had 0, 10, 20. I went up. I went 5, 25, 35. I went up. What's the correlation of this data table? Positive. It's positive, okay? So I'm going to write positive on here. Do not write anything yet. Okay? So I have positive. Here's what I want you to do. Look at your data table. Write down what your correlation of your data is. Look at the data table you made from yesterday. Write down what the correlation of your data table is right now. And I'm going to come around. We're going to take a look. Write down your correlation right now. On your notes, not on your data table, write down the correlation of your data table. Okay. You get yours? Now, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell yours. Yeah. Did you get yours? Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop you. I got everybody done. Here's where you're going to end up running into weird stuff. Person sitting up here has a weird situation where they used categorical information. So he used colors of light, right? So how do you do correlation? Because you're used to doing like numbers and stuff like that. So which color worked the best? Green. So this is what you say. There's a positive correlation for the green color. That's it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So write on yours, write down positive for green. Right? Okay, so now let's look at the next thing. The relationship is this. When you guys do the graph, basically you're evaluating the relationship of the x-axis to the y-axis. How does this data relate to this? Well, this is the same stuff over here. You essentially have x-axis variables, or data, and you have y-axis data right here. So we're going to evaluate that information as it relates to the data table. So don't write yours down yet. I'm going to look at this for a second, okay? So when the amount of vitamin A increases, what happens to the amount of weight gain? As the amount of vitamin A increases, what happens to the amount of weight gain? Increases. So I'm going to spell that out. You have to explain that out. So I'm going to write down as the amount of vitamin A in milligrams, make sure you have your units on there, increases, the amount of weight gain in percentage increases. Did I abbreviate anything?
Nope.
Did I include my units?
Yep.
Caitlin, did I abbreviate anything? Gabby, did I abbreviate anything? Did I abbreviate anything? Jude, did I abbreviate anything?
Nope.
I only have one person participating today. Did I abbreviate anything?
No.
No. Did I include my units?
Yep.
Absolutely. You got to make sure you put on there. And I state specifically what's going on here. So I now have, here's my correlation. I have my relationship, how this relates to this and this relates to this. So now I want you to look at your data, and I want you to fill out on your thing, what is the relationship of your data on your notes. You ready? Are you ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Go. Ms. Peterson, can you do that one? I'll do this.
So like the greener the light,
Yours is going to be this. With the green light, the number of chats that rise by using that one, that's what you're going to do.
I looked into it from the perspective, and it seemed like the slower it was at a pretty good amount of chads, and then as it reached more of like a center
like
flow
this.
green, green was like the optimal, and then as soon as it got fast, it just like
Green is not optimal. Green is the worst.
green got the best though.
The worst. You guys got it?
How can green do the best?
Generally increases. Generally increases. Okay. You guys got it? Yours is as you increase. There is a it'll probably worse. Probably will. So the first part of your cycle, got it? It still generally increases, right? That's why I said it's and it's still starting, it's still increasing from control, right? Okay? What you got? Yours is, this is the distance around. This didn't change. So as you decrease, the amount doesn't change. That's why you have a neutral correlation. We got it? You guys got it? No, but generally, that's why if you pick what's here.
Here.
actually reflected the green. So the only thing that passed through. All right, you ready? We got to move on. Okay, so I want to address a couple points. With the relationship with categorical information, so he's got the green light, he's like, what do I put with this? And I go, well, just like with his correlation was, there's a positive correlation for green light. You guys keep going, you're fine. Here's what you would do with this. With the use of the green light, the more chads will rise. Okay, it almost sounds like correlation and it's fine. The other thing is, some of you guys had data that kind of blipped a little bit. That's why I said you want to make sure, Tyler, that you have a trend line in there. Because some of you guys that started off at 0 and then it went to like 14 and then dropped down to 10, you still have an overall increase, okay? So we're going to start off, look at your overall trend. Is it going up? Is it going down? And then follow that for your relationship, okay? Let's take a look at the trend, okay? You ready? Trend looks like this. You have one of three things. You ready? Tyler, last chance. One of three things. Just look at me. Don't even look at them. Is your trend increasing? Is it decreasing? Or is it not changing? Okay. So I'll ask you this. Trend of DVD sales. Going down is decreasing. Trend of iPhone 6 sales. Going up. Okay. We can do this all day long and you can figure out a lot of these things, right? But when DVDs first came out, what was the trend of DVD sales? What do you think is going to eventually happen to the iPhone 6 when the iPhone 12 comes out? You know what I mean? It's going to be a piece of crap. Who wants that thing? It's going to go down. But I want you to do this. There's two questions. If you just look at the straight trend of the data, what is going on? Is this trend increase? Is the data increasing, decreasing, or not changing? One more time? It's increasing, right? Now, here's one thing I may ask you. I may say, what is the trend of the data? So I'm going to write this down. The trend of my data is that's increasing. But I also might do this. What do you think the trend is going to be like? And this is your opportunity in your discussion section to go on. Dimitri, I'm going to ask you yours. And later on, you can go back to this. Dimitri took the light farther and further and further away. But his increments are really small. Like he only moved it a little bit, so he didn't show a change. Guys, if I move the light all the way back, am I going to start seeing a change in the number of chads that rose? Yeah, definitely. So you can also, later on in your discussion, go back and go, the trend is increasing. However, I think it may go up or down or whatever. If I keep giving you more and more and more and more vitamins, are you going to get fatter and fatter and bigger and bigger? Or is there going to be a stopping point where you're kind of like, all right, you can only take in so much? There's going to be a stopping point where you can only take in so much. In fact, with vitamin A and some other vitamins, there's a toxic level. If you take too much, you can actually get sick, and it's actually bad for you, okay? You may not know that. There's something to keep in mind. So right now, on your trend, I want you to look at your data and write down, was it increasing, decreasing, or not changing? Just your data. What is the trend of your data? You ready? Go. Yeah. Well, so that you have, it's decreasing, right? Or, I'm sorry, it's increasing, yeah. So the closer you get, the more chads it grows, right? So it's increasing. Does that make sense? Same thing? But, so you may say it's increasing, but it's leveling off. I'm sorry, decreasing, yeah. Oh, yours is easy, it's decreasing. Yeah. Yeah. Trend of the data is it's decreasing. So watch, if you go further and further away, you're going to get less and less chat, right? It makes sense, right? No, we got your 3 points, right? Yep. No, you did right. Oh, no, you can do it either way. Depends on what story you're trying to relate. It works.
Increasing with slight decrease.
With the use of the green light, your data is increasing. This is different. I know. Did you get it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's neutral for my trend because the distance decreased, it stayed the same.
Stays the same? Your guys is yours is no change?
Yeah.
Okay. But do you think it's going to keep doing that?
Well, maybe.
Forever and ever and ever?
No, like it'll eventually
Okay, that's
just.
what you want to talk about in your discussion section at some point. Okay. Ready? You guys got it? Yeah. Talk about it? Okay. Did you guys get it? The fun's worn off. The novelty's done. Well, now we got to do the rabbit stuff.
Constantly
All right.
green light.
Ready? Are we? You guys ready? We're getting there? Okay, so we'll look at each individual data is a little bit different. Okay, so here's the deal. Jude's got the same issue again. All right, so we can. I've already told him about it, and he's like, "It's fine. It sounds redundant. It is redundant." So the trend of the data is, by using the green light, you're going to keep the data seems to be increasing more. Okay, so you could. The argument may change depending on the type of data, type of information you gather. I don't want you to get too frustrated by trying to figure out how do I fit it in this box exactly. Okay. Now here's what I want to show you. Right below where you have a correlation, I want you to write something. I want you to write something right here, below here, and below here, so you can remember it. I want you to put it in a box. You ready? Evan, this is when you're going to write. You ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right below here, I'm going to put nice car. I'm going to put it in a box so that I remember this is one of our examples. Right below here, I'm going to put nice clothes. And below here, I'm going to put good food. I'm going to put it in a box. You ready? Okay, so if I saw somebody who was driving a nice car, nice clothes, good food, what could I conclude about them? They're rich. They're well off. They have a lot of money. But did I say anything about them having any money?
No.
Is there anything that says specifically they have a lot of money? No. But we can make a conclusion. If I had results that said, hey, has a nice car, hey, has nice clothes, hey, has good food or eats a lot of good food, you could make a conclusion that said the meaning of the results that I'm seeing is that you have somebody who has a lot of money. Okay? So here's what I want you to do, and this is the part where you're going to have to flip your brain on just a little bit and make your own conclusions because I can't tell you this part. You ready? You have a correlation. I have a correlation. I have a relationship, and I have a trend that relates back to this information. Now I need to figure out what does this data actually mean, because I'm going to hand out your rubric in a little bit, and in your discussion section, you need to talk about what do the results actually mean. In your discussion section, you want to talk about all these three things, but you also have to relate it back to what it means. So if I'm giving more vitamin A to a rat, and they're gaining more and more weight, can we say that the vitamin A is good for the rat?
Yes.
Can we say the vitamin A is good for the rat?
Yeah.
Yes. So is it improving their health or reducing their health? Improving their health. The one way that we're measuring it is we're doing it by the percentage of body mass gain. So they're gaining, I could have done a number of different things. I could have tested the nail growth. I could have tested the amount of activity. I could have tested a bunch of different things. But basically what I was trying to figure out is this. Is vitamin A good? And at what dosage is the vitamin A good? So I'm going to go back to my meaning and I'm going to say, the meaning of the results are, as you increase vitamin A dosages, the amount of weight gain increases. Therefore, the health of the rat also increases. This is what I see from that. When I give them more vitamin A, something that we know is probably good for them, I want to see if it actually improves their health. I'm going to come up with a variable that I can measure that I can use to gauge their health. And ultimately, I can support this idea that based off this variable, that I'm improving the health of this rat. Okay? So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you the next 10 minutes to work in your discussion section. We're going to use these as notes. And then I want you to start putting together your discussion section and come up with what does that meaning. If you want me to check off your meeting or one of us to check off your meeting, we can do that. Do you have to have your discussion section done now? No. But this is your time to talk to your partner. This is the time when I'm giving you to work on this in class. All right? You ready? 10 minutes. So at 9:52, we are stopping. You ready? Go.